Bolnares, Barancura, Kitisira, Sumburana, Savanga, Badana, Baramakati, Yaraj, Akumara, and that's only his first name. King Mithridates of Pontus ingested many different poisons in graduating amongst to become immune so that he couldn't be poisoned by his enemies. When he was captured, he tried to commit suicide by poisoning himself, but failed because he was immune. When King Charles II of Navarre was sick, his doctor ordered him to be wrapped in linen and covered in brandy. Unfortunately, instead of cutting the last thread of linen with scissors, the nurse thought it would be a great idea to burn it off, burning the king alive. Carl Emil Petersen was a Swedish sailor who was shipwrecked in 1904 on Tabar Island in Papua New Guinea, which was occupied by cannibals. The islanders carried him to their king, and the king's daughter fell in love with him. In 1907, he married Princess Singdo, the daughter of the local King Lemi. He became king after the death of his father-in-law. See you next time on Bet You Didn't Know. Compliments of Sigismund Consultants, Inc.
This is News Talk Radio Guyana 103.1 FM. Drink Pepsi Black for Max Taste. No sugar. Pepsi Black time, 6 o'clock or 18 hours.
The news from Guyana, the region and the world. Compiled in the News Talk Radio newsroom and powered by DemeraraWaves.com.
The news comes to you with the compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC. With the news at this time, I'm Dennis Chabrol. Good evening. First, the highlights. We tell you this hour that leader of the Liberty and Justice Party, LJP, in his capacity as Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Lennox Schumann, has written to President Ali to meet with the leader of the opposition, Joseph Harmon, to appoint substantive Chancellor, Chief Justice, Commissioner of Police, and the Chief of Staff. The Alliance for Change has submitted yet again a motion of no confidence to the Regional 4 Council to remove Vice Chairman Samuel Sandy and the Chairman as well. The Liza Unity is arriving in Guyanese waters and track for early 2022 startup. The Education Ministry has announced that the National Grade 6 assessment for the year 2022 is to be written on July 6 and 7. In the region, troubling reports have surfaced in Trinidad and Tobago from some parents who reveal that vaccinated students were bullying unvaccinated students as the two groups met face-to-face. Local businesses in the British Virgin Islands are being urged to localize their workforce with qualified BVI lenders. And internationally, Washington has revoked the U.S. license of one of China's biggest telecoms companies, citing national security concerns. The details coming up.
Is it a special occasion? Are you on a budget but still want a filling and oh so mouth-watering meal? Look no further. KFC is here for you with their affordable and finger-licking good meals. Treat your family or friends like royalty without hurting your pockets. KFC is here for you at 9 locations and 6 drive-thrus, including the Amazonia Mall at Providence, to make that occasion really special. KFC.
It's finger-licking good.
And now the news in detail. The leader of the Liberty and Justice Party, LJP, Lennox Schumann, in his capacity as Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, has written to President Ali to appoint a substantive Chancellor, Chief Justice, Commissioner of Police, and the Chief of Staff. The Deputy Speaker is concerned that a non-appointment of substantive officials or confirmation of those acting in the offices weakens the state and has asked the President to rectify the situation. Mr. Schumann calls on President Ali to urgently confer with the leader of the opposition with a view to securing his agreement for substantive appointments to the 4 positions. Mr. Schumann urges that a failure to rectify the omission to fill these positions with substantive appointments means the continuing violation of the spirit and intent of the Constitution. Mr. Schumann, in his letter dated Friday, October 22, to President Ali, stated that there are 4 critical acting appointments, namely the Chief of Staff, I beg your pardon, namely the Chief Justice, the Chancellor of the Judiciary, the Commissioner of Police, and the Chief of Staff. Mr. Schumann highlighted is that after 1 year in office, the People's Progressive Party government has ignored calls by the previous president of the Caribbean Court of Justice, Sir Dennis Byron, and the current president, Justice Adrian Saunders, for the confirmation of substantive appointments of the Chancellor of the Judiciary and the Chief Justice. The Alliance for Change, AFC, is seeking once again to remove the Regional Democratic Council Vice Chairman Samuel Sanley by way of a no-confidence motion. The Region 4 RDC is scheduled to meet on Thursday. The clerk of the council, Mr. Donald Gadraj, has written to the chairman of the Region 4 Damarara Mahaika Council, Daniel Seram, informing him of the motion to be placed on the agenda. General Secretary of the AFC, David Patterson, confirmed to News Talk Radio 103.1 FM that he is aware of the motion, which is to be placed on the agenda for the meeting on Thursday and a debate at a subsequent date. Mr. Patterson has confirmed, too, that the impasse with the appointment of Sanley as vice chair instead of AFC's candidate Nielsen McKenzie has not been resolved as the top leadership of the AFC and APNU. AFC contends that the APNU reneged on an agreement for the two parties with the majority vote together to vote APNU for chair and the AFC the vice chair position. At the time of voting with the casting vote needed, the chairman, Seram, voted for Samuel Sanley of the APNU instead of AFC's Nielsen McKenzie. In correspondence seen by News Talk Radio, the regional chairman, Daniel Seram, has strongly reprimanded Mr. Gadraj for submitting the motions while informing that the method of submission was not in keeping with statutory provision, that he was out of order to inform the chairman of an agenda item when in fact it is the chairman who sets the agenda. The regional chairman informed the regional executive officer that a motion was dismissed and will not make the agenda for Thursday's meeting. The General Secretary of the APNU, Joseph Harman, had said on Friday, October 2020, a year ago, that the reversal of that decision for APNU Samuel Sanley to be replaced by the AFC's Nielsen McKenzie would depend on talks between AFC leader Kemraj Ramchadan and APNU Chairman David Granger. The Liza Unity floating production, storage and offloading vessel has arrived in the Stabroek Block offshore Guyana after traveling nearly 53 days and more than 11,000 nautical miles on its journey from Singapore. Christened by the First Lady Aria Ali earlier this year, the Sustain 1 certified vessel will now be connected to the spread mooring before preparation for testing and commissioning. The Liza Unity FPSO has been awarded the Sustain 1 notation by the American Bureau of Shipping, the classification society for the unit. It is the world's first FPSO to achieve such recognition for sustainability for its design, documentation, and operational procedures. More than 2,860 Guyanese have worked on ExxonMobil Guyana's exploration and development activities in Guyana. The Liza Phase 2 development will produce up to 220,000 barrels of oil per day from the Liza Unity FPSO, which will be supported by a total of 6 drill centers and approximately 30 wells. The Ministry of Education has announced that the students preparing for the National Grade 6 Assessment Exam for 2022 will write those exams in July. Education Minister Priya Manikchand made the announcement while holding a stakeholder meeting with grade 6 teachers virtually across Guyana. She says the dates are July 6 and 7, but may change depending on the COVID situation in the country at that time. The ministry has urged teachers to ensure student performance for the assessment in 2022. Minister Manikchand explained that the 2022 examination will be prepared like the 2021 examination, covering topics up to grade 5 level based on a consolidated curriculum. The teachers were also asked to make a note of the students in their class who need textbooks so that they can be sourced and provided. The Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation, GPHC, has resumed offering various surgeries to patients. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony says the health institution had stopped offering surgery except for emergencies during the COVID surge.
I think as additional precautions, we stopped taking in patients to do elective surgeries. Because in hospital setting, it can be challenging if you have infectious patients with COVID in that hospital setting, then they can infect the other people. We took it as a precautionary measure, but now, as you would have noticed over the last couple of weeks, we have seen a drop in cases. The hospital is going to start, they're going to resume doing elective surgery.
Dr. Anthony says, while with the reduction in cases, the Georgetown Public Hospital is working on a date to begin accepting appointments for surgeries. He urges that the COVID measures in place be enforced to ensure COVID infections are kept at minimum or more so prevented. The Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, says there is a decrease in the number of new COVID infections being recorded. Only 66 new cases were recorded and 2 deaths, which take the death toll to 899. The number of persons hospitalized has seen a sharp decline to only 80 persons, of which 23 are seriously sick in the COVID intensive care unit. There are now 3,239 other persons who've tested positive and have been told to isolate themselves at home. The record shows that 73% of adults in Guyana have taken a first dose of a COVID vaccine, which represents 378,573 adults, and 46% or 238,902 adults are fully vaccinated. The health minister says there has been a drop in the number of children being vaccinated. He urges parents to ensure their children between the ages of 12 to 17 years old get the jab. To date, 17,489 children are fully vaccinated and 26,966 are partially vaccinated. A 34-year-old man was yesterday arrested for the alleged rape of a teen under the age of 16. The man was identified by ranks in patrol at Diamond, East Bank, Tamarara, for the alleged offense committed in Region 2, Pomeroon, Suriname in 2016. Police say he is in custody and will be transported back to the region for the legal continuation of the allegation. In the region, as thousands of secondary school students in Forms 4 to 6 returned to the physical classrooms yesterday in Trinidad and Tobago, troubling reports have surfaced from some parents who revealed that vaccinated students were bullying unvaccinated students as the two groups met face-to-face. Interim chairman of the National Parent Teachers Association, Zina Ramatali, described the claims as an alarming development no one had anticipated. Ramatali says there were cases before of cyberbullying when they were online, and now the vaccinated are having issues with the unvaccinated. She called for a greater emphasis to be placed in educating students to avoid any further escalation. Ramatali urged that it's important to teach children how to be their brother's keeper because this is a pandemic and both sets of students are out. Media reports out of Nigeria, more specifically an article in the People's Gazette dated October 19, have referenced the involvement of Bamis and Elizabeth Achetonobi in alleged fraudulent activity through their company Imagine Global Solutions Limited. The Citizenship by Investment Unit of Antigua and Barbuda has confirmed that both Bamise Achetonobi and Elizabeth Achetonobi were granted citizenship in April 2021, having applied under the Citizenship by Investment Program. As is customary, the application was subjected to intense internal examination by the unit's team of certified compliance specialists. A leading global due diligence firm conducted open source and in-country investigations on both Mr. and Mrs. Achetonobi as well as their company, Imagine Global Solutions Limited. The Antigua and Barbuda government says at the conclusion of the investigations, nothing disparaging was identified with respect to the applicants nor their affiliate business interests. Their company was also duly registered and active. Local businesses in the British Virgin Islands are being urged to localize their workforce with qualified BVI lenders. Speaking at the October Entrepreneur Meetup hosted by Forge BVI, Labour Minister Vincent Wheatley says he hopes businesses start to hire more qualified local people. He says part of the government's plan is to localize the workforce as much as possible or as much as practical. He says the government is looking to implement a system where persons are told at least 3 months in advance that they do not need to apply for a particular job or work permit because there is someone for the job who's local and they were away and now they're back. Meanwhile, the Chief Executive Officer of Hire BVI, Rekima Turnbull, also shares the same sentiments as the minister. Her company, Hire BVI, seeks to provide services to local businesses to help them find more employable people while adhering to the requirements set by the government regarding employability. She says her company has a job board, which is accepted by the Labor Department as a mode of a job advertisement. Turnbull added that employers should follow the rule finding qualified BVI lenders before seeking foreign employees more seriously. The Entrepreneur Link-Up last Thursday is among a series of workshops hosted by Forge, which seeks to equip local entrepreneurs with the knowledge and expertise to expand their businesses. The Link-Up was about dealing with labor and immigration processes and how employers can easily maneuver the local requirements. The president of the Barbados-based Caribbean Development Bank, Dr. Jean Leon, says the price of electricity in the region is among the highest in the world. Speaking at an energy forum in the Turks and Caicos Islands, the CDB president says that the cost of electricity in the region averaged 28 US cents per kilowatt hour in 2019. Against his background, he called for encouraging and incentivizing the private sector to support the transition to sustainable energy. His comments come at a time when Barbadians are voicing concerns that electricity rates in the island could go up following an application by the Barbados Light and Power Company Limited to the Fair Trading Commission for a rate increase. The CDB official told the function in the Turks and Caicos Islands that a high cost of electricity generation has a negative impact on the region's economic and social development as it increases import bills, worsens terms of trade, erodes competitiveness, and stymies investment by the business community. He says the high electricity costs also affect economically disadvantaged people who spend a greater share of their disposable income in energy. Barbados and other Caribbean governments have been pushing to make a transformation to renewable energy to lower electricity costs while making economic sectors more competitive. The CDB president highlighted that although alternative forms of energy, especially solar, wind, and ocean resources, are in unlimited supply in the region, the Caribbean is one of the most energy import-dependent regions in the world, with CDB's 19 borrowing member states deriving more than 90% of their commercial energy supply from imported petroleum. And now we go to the BBC World Service for the latest bulletin of world news.
Hello, I'm Moira Alderson with the BBC News. The Federal Communications Commission in the United States has revoked China Telecom's license to operate in the country, citing national security concerns. The firm has 60 days to comply. Our business reporter is Jonathan Josephs.
The Commission is concerned that China Telecom is owned and controlled by the Chinese government and that allows the Chinese government to have undue influence on the company and what it does, and that it can be used to engage in espionage and other harmful activities against the United States, according to this FCC statement. They also said there was other classified evidence from government agencies that meant that China Telecom is a national security risk for the US. So obviously that hasn't been disclosed because it's classified. Telecoms infrastructure is a very important part of any modern state because of the data that it carries. China Telecom has said it is disappointed in this decision and it will pursue all options available.
Buckingham Palace has announced that Queen Elizabeth will not be attending the upcoming United Nations Climate Change Summit that Britain is hosting in Glasgow. It said she'd regretfully decided not to attend an evening reception this Monday. The Queen, who's 95, recently spent a night in hospital and was advised by doctors to rest, although she's since resumed light duties at Windsor Castle. Our royal correspondent is Johnny Diamond.
I think the presumption can be that she is still tired, she may still be slightly unwell, and the advice from her doctors is that the combination of travel to Glasgow and also the reception that she was expected to hold, which involves, on your feet for an hour, hour and a half, meeting and greeting delegates, that itself would have just been a bit too much.
Days before the COP26 summit, the United Nations Environment Programme has warned that plans to cut carbon emissions fall far short of what's needed to avert dangerous climate change. It says national pledges will fail to keep global temperature increases under 1.5 Celsius this century. The analysis suggests the world is on course for a rise of 2.7 degrees. Reports from Sudan say the civilian Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdouk, who was deposed and arrested after Monday's military coup, has been taken to his own home. Troops have arrested another political leader, Sadiq al-Mahdi of the Umma Party. All flights in and out of the country have been suspended until Saturday. A US State Department spokesman, Ned Price, said US funding for Sudan was being put on hold.
In light of these developments, the United States is pausing assistance from $700 million in emergency assistance appropriations of economic support funds for Sudan. Those funds were intended to support the country's democratic transition as we evaluate the next step for Sudan programming.
This is Moira Alderson with the latest world news from the BBC. At least 11 people have been killed and 15 injured in an attack on a village in Diyala province in eastern Iraq. Police said gunmen attacked al-Rashad using small arms fire. No one has claimed responsibility. Details are still coming in. The Archbishop of Canterbury, the symbolic head of Anglicans worldwide, has said he's gravely concerned by a proposed new law in Ghana, which would impose harsh penalties on the LGBT community. The bill is being debated in Parliament with a vote expected in a few days. Supported by the Anglican Church of Ghana, the bill seeks to increase jail terms to up to a decade and force some to undergo conversion therapy. Germany's lower house of parliament has seen the tentative start of a new political era on the day it reconvened after September's elections. Angela Merkel will remain as caretaker chancellor while negotiations take place on who'll succeed her. They're led by the centre-left Social Democrats, who hope to form a coalition with the Greens and Liberal Free Democrats by Christmas. The new speaker, Bärbel Bas of the Social Democrats, said Parliament had a responsibility to plan ahead.
Dear colleagues, a lot of contentious topics are before us. Climate change, especially the adaptation of the economy with the goal to become climate neutral. Younger generations from this country are waiting for sustainable decisions from us, and the Constitutional Court has said they were right. We decide now, not only for our generation, but also for the upcoming generations.
The Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, has unveiled a new cabinet as he embarks on his third term. The reshuffled cabinet consists of 38 ministers with 9 new appointees and is equally split between men and women. Mr Trudeau was returned to power in September following a snap election which resulted in another minority Liberal government. That's the latest world news from the BBC.
And just before we recap the highlights, we tell you now that news just coming to hand. A man has been accused of the rape of a child under 16 years old. He was not required to plea and was remanded to prison until November 3rd. He has been identified as Ray Williams. He appeared at the Linden Magistrates Court. Police say that on the 26th of October 2021, Ray Williams was charged with the offense. The accused appeared virtually and was remanded by Magistrate Wanda Fortune. That's the news to the moment.
Hate to stand in lines? Don't worry. KFC has got you covered with their drive-thrus, which are open from 9:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. at Movietown, Blissingen Road, Mandela Avenue, Breeden Hoop, Parika, and now the Amazonia Mall. That's right, you can drive through at 6 of their 9 locations. Remember their current opening hours, 9:30 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Go on down and let your taste buds savor the spices today. KFC.
It's finger-licking good.
And now a recap of the highlights. The leader of the Liberty and Justice Party, Mr. Lennox Schumann, has written to President Ali to meet with the leader of the opposition, Joseph Harman, to appoint substantive Chancellor, Chief Justice, Commissioner of Police, and the Chief of Staff. The Alliance for Change has submitted yet again a motion of no confidence to the Region 4 Council to remove Vice Chairman Samuel Sandy. In the region, troubling reports have surfaced in Trinidad and Tobago from some parents who have revealed that vaccinated students were bullying unvaccinated students as the two groups met face-to-face. Local businesses in the British Virgin Islands are being urged to localize their workforce with qualified BVI Islanders. Internationally, Washington has revoked the U.S. license of one of China's biggest telecoms companies, citing national security concerns. The news came to you with the compliments of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC.
This has been the news, compiled in the News Talk Radio Newsroom. For ongoing updates, visit demerarawaves.com, and you can check facebook.com/demwaves and twitter.com/demwaves.